warm enough to wear a wood control.
Yeah.
We're not like you need a coat, but it's
like,
not too warm where you don't.
I mean, considering like
It's DC in the
where
summer.
we're from, like we're going to school, it's better. It is the
No,
one
this
that's
is
better.
doing
Do you want to take the folders to the plastic collection?
No, it's the paper will fly away if it's not in the folder.
It's the wonderful Rogers.
Yeah.
When
Bay Area.
War mill. Oh, okay, fantastic. So Ralph Norman is your. Charlie like Ferrari.
You wrote a very good letter. You write it.
I did.
Letter. Yeah, you're going
I
to
did.
talk
Can I
about
borrow
that.
your pen again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll bring up the letter. Charlie Harari.
Yeah.
Is he going to speak instead of the
No,
rabbi?
no, no. He'll speak. He'll open it up. He'll be a
Okay,
warm-up.
Charlie.
Charlie Harari.
Is he going to go first? Or?
You should go first.
Okay, I'll go first.
You're the star.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that, but.
You're a national figure today. Everyone's talking about it.
Oh, I know, right now. I'm hearing all these stories about Trump.
Okay.
Do you want to go ahead and get started now?
Maybe you'll be on the VP thing.
Will I go to Charlie after
Yes.
this? Okay.
Yes. How long could you stay? When do you have to leave?
As soon as my staff pulls me out of here, probably
Okay.
10 or 15 minutes.
Okay, this is who I am.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Congresswoman Nancy Mace from South Carolina. This afternoon, I want to announce that our office is teaming up with Olami and their zero tolerance efforts across the country. I represent the low country of South Carolina's 1st congressional district, and it's a very historic Jewish community. One of the first synagogues ever built in the United States of America was built in Charleston, South Carolina. We have a very large and growing and strong Jewish population and Jewish community there. And you know, in recent months, since October 7th, a lot of those in our Jewish community have been worried about their safety when they step out of their homes or when they step onto college campuses for our Jewish youth. And we want to make sure that we are demanding decisive steps from universities to combat anti-Semitism and Jewish hate rather than to pay lip service to it. You know, in my district last year alone in 2023, there were over 50 reports of anti-Semitic incidents in the Low Country in South Carolina. We know that violent anti-Semitism is up all across the country by over 13% on college campuses, and a staggering 73% of Jewish students on college campuses and universities have reported that they have witnessed or been part of or a victim of anti-Semitism in their own universities and colleges. And since Hamas's invasion of Israel, those numbers are only getting worse. And we ought to have a zero tolerance policy for any type of anti-Semitism, period, in our country. And the stories we're hearing are awful. As a mother of 2 teenage kids, whose children are about to go off to college, I cannot imagine the kind of hate that any child would find on a college campus that should be a safe place for them. Our office right now has drafted a letter to the Department of Education that we are sending around to our colleagues, our members of the House this week. This action and the letter addresses in accordance with the statutory authority under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The letter emphasizes the necessity for the Department of Education to establish a standardized reporting system. The system will cover all cases of anti-Semitic bias and discrimination. And if you support anti-Semitism, if you're against the kind of violence and acts that we've seen of anti-Semitism all around the country, you should be supporting this letter, regardless of your political affiliation. We want to make sure that we don't seek to dictate policies for handling these incidents. We want to make sure that these incidents are reported and that our students are safe. This is not a tall task. Transparency in universities' actions in mitigating anti-Semitic bias and discrimination. We know that American money is being funneled to UNRWA, an organization that enables and employs Hamas terrorists. This is a proven fact. It's better spent on resources for colleges funded by and to support Jewish students right here at home, rather than sending money overseas that supports terrorism. That money should be right here in the United States to support our Jewish citizens and our Jewish students. So the Zero Tolerance National Reporting System empowers Jewish students with a vital voice and a safety net. And with that, I wanted to thank all of the students who are here today on our nation's capital, many of them traveling from all across the United States, from New York and New Jersey, Arizona, South Carolina, and my home state of South Carolina. We're really proud to stand here with each and every one of you. and we're here to work with you. We look forward to continuing our work with you. I will next pass it off to Charlie Harari. All right, sir, you're up. Thank you.
We thank the Congresswoman for her leadership and for setting the way for really the future. Many of our students are on campuses today, and they're there to learn. They're there to do what every American wants, to grow and to create a better future for themselves. Unfortunately, we're living at a time right now where that's becoming more and more impossible and intolerable. Universities are becoming hostile environments, breeding grounds of hate. Students feel harassed, they feel threatened physically, emotionally, and there really is very little response that the universities are giving at a level that's working. And we need the government to do what the government does, to protect our freedoms, to enable our citizens to live under the banner that America stands for, which is the freedom to be able to act and to learn and to study and to grow. It's basic. But we're living at a time, believe it or not, where even the basic rights are not being upheld. And so we'd like to publicly thank the Congresswoman for her leadership. And we implore everybody to sort of be part of this. Zero tolerance for hate. God gives us the ability to take care of each other. And with God's help, we will be able to create an environment in which every single student and every single individual feels the safety and the security to pursue their dreams and to be able to live their lives that America stands for. We thank you. We thank the Congresswoman. I would like to call upon two of our students to share some words. Josh?
Thank you so much. My name is Joshua and I go to Stanford. As a South African, it is an immense honor to stand and engage in the deliberative policy process that I would argue is the envy of the world. Regrettably, the same can't be said for our legislature, where parliamentarians have been calling for the arrest of prominent rabbis and have engaged in various campaigns to undermine the safety of the Jewish people of South Africa. That said, I fear that the impunity propagated across American college campuses may lead to the same level of hatred among American politicians if it continues to go unchecked and if there are no proper procedures for reporting hate on our campuses. I bring up my South African identity because its interplay with my Jewish heritage is very central to what has been my college experience. In a student government meeting a few years ago when I defended Israel, students had said that I, as a Jewish South African, am predisposed to supporting apartheid regimes and thus had no right to discuss the issue. A few years later, on October 9th, a student who had celebrated the October 7th massacre and had praised Hamas for their act of resistance was lambasted by an anonymous South African who called them from a South African phone number. On a WhatsApp group, a group of people decided to state that since they already knew a particular South African, it would be most wise to pin it on me. A friend let me know that this was happening out of concern for my safety, and distraught as I was, I informed my roommates and removed my door sign, and then decided to call campus security. Campus security had kindly explained that it is not their jurisdiction to interfere in times like this, but rather it is their duty to determine whether a crime has happened or not. They then suggested that I contact the Protected Identity Harm Office, which I did, and I heard back from them about 3 days later. That office empathized with me and suggested that to seek the recourse I needed, I chat with the safety officials on campus who I had already spoken with. So she put me in touch with different officers of that department. When I spoke with them, they suggested that I reach out to the Protected Identity Harm Office to talk to them about what may best be done. It became abundantly clear that the whole system was dedicated to moving students from department to department until their exhaustion eventually outweighed their fear. And I'd argue that my experience was one of the more benign. Students have had their safe housing vandalized with slogans of Free Palestine, which have nothing to do with the student's identity. Ultimately, they too have had to face the same issue, only with more officers, having to talk with housing, public safety, police, and other such organizations on campus. Ultimately, with universities being risk mitigating, they benefit from burying their students in bureaucracy, and it creates an image that they're doing perfectly fine and that they're perfectly safe. An initiative like this that creates a transparent reporting system can ensure that the government actually knows the reality of what's happening on our college campuses, and in doing so can bolster the transparency and accountability and other democratic values that the people of America so rightfully hail.
October 9th is the day I drew a target on my back. My name is Giselle Kachlon, and I'm a student and resident assistant at Drexel University. On October 9th, a fellow resident assistant sent a message to our group chat, essentially belittling the attack on Jews in Israel on October 7th. As a Jew, I felt obligated to respond and shut down any notion that the attack on October 7th was in any way justifiable. I was instantly met with intense backlash from the rest of the RAs. I was dismissed as their colleague and as their fellow Drexel Dragon. From that day, since then, I've been seen as one thing and one thing only in their eyes, a Jew. I am not safe on campus. I know a girl who is openly Jewish and had her dorm door burnt down. As far as I know, Drexel is still investigating. She is not safe on campus. I have a friend who was walking home one Friday night from Shabbat dinner wearing a kippah, a yarmulke, who was hit in the face by someone shouting, "F the Jews." As far as I know, Drexel is still investigating. He is not safe on campus. College is the place for students to learn more about themselves and to discover their passions in a safe environment. Jewish students deserve no less. We deserve the same protection of our civil liberties as any other student in America. To feel safe is not a privilege, but rather it is a right. It is our right as American Jews. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Mace, for this groundbreaking policy pushing forward. We know that our students need to feel safe on campus. All students should feel safe. And the critical step that's needed is the transparency and accountability that universities should have in reporting every complaint of anti-Semitism or civil rights violation to the Office of Civil Rights. It's time to open the books, to understand what's happening, that the universities who are doing a good job should be celebrated, so that the students on those campuses should feel safe, should feel supported. And the students who are on other campuses, where there simply is no response when a student reports or complains, those campuses should be held accountable. There should be transparency about what's happening on those campuses. And this simple change in the policy of the Department of Education in holding the schools accountable to report the number of incidents and their response to those incidents would create the change that's needed to start having every student on campus have a voice. Today we know so many students are simply not reporting anymore because they've learned helplessness. They call 911 and nobody answers the phone. That is a basic right problem. So we're here together with students from 20 universities across the country, representing over 25,000 students at 100 locations where Olami exists, to stand up for zero tolerance against anti-Semitism, to say that it's time to make the change. And this policy, pushed forth by Congresswoman Mace, is the kind of policy that we need to be able to create the change in America.
I'm Malcolm Hoenlein. I'm the CEO Emeritus of the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations, the umbrella of the 53 National Jewish Organizations. And I would say on our agenda today, there is nothing more important than the struggle against the firestorm of anti-Semitism that is permeating our country from coast to coast, from every age level, from kindergarten through elementary schools, through high schools, and the campuses. But today, the campus is the front line. We are seeing the next generation of American leaders being trained in hate, to tolerate intolerance, and our call today for zero tolerance, echoing the actions of the Congresswoman, to put on record once and for all that we will hold to account those who engage in, those who support, those who give succor to, those who are silent in the face of the anti-Semitism, the Jew hatred, that we see evidenced in so many ways, including in physical violence against people on the streets and on our campuses. We will not tolerate it anymore. We cannot. We learned the lesson and took the pledge of never again after the Second World War, after the Holocaust. That is not an empty phrase to be yelled at rallies. This is a pledge that each generation, Jew and non-Jew alike, must take because we want to protect America, we want to protect Western values, we want to protect our society. While Jews may be the first victims, they're never the last. And every other minority, every other group becomes a victim of this hatred when it's allowed to metastasize in our society. We are seeing too much tolerance for the actions of the few who have now turned our campuses into war fronts where students cannot walk to their classes, cannot wear a yarmulke publicly on the street. We will not accept it. And so we say, never again will Jews have to walk in fear. We stand together with these college students, and we are, thank God, backed by many people of goodwill across America. And the Congresswoman is an exemplar of that. So we thank her and we thank her colleagues, but it's time for true enforcement, true accountability, no excuses, no exceptions.
Yep. Lastly, I want to thank Rabbi Markowitz for being here, Charlie Harari as well, and Malcolm Hoenlein. Thank you for being here today, and all the students that came here from around the country, across the country, and even from South Africa. Your remarks were poignant, they were real, they were honest, they were raw, and we need to do everything that we can to ensure hate does not exist for anyone on our campuses, most especially for our Jewish students who are feeling it so hard today. Thank you all, and this concludes our press conference right now. Thank you all, and God bless.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
One more photo? Oh, okay, we'll do one more photo. Sure. Get in. Really quick. Quick.
Thank you so much for the support.
No, thank you for being here.
You know, I have a nationally syndicated radio show. I would love to have you on.
I'd love to do it.
It's worldwide. It's CBS Network and iHeartRadio.
It's not ABC.
WABC New York is okay.
Yeah, they're great.
Have you ever been on any of the shows there?
Everybody here, 1, 2, 3.